Overuse injuries are way more common than overtraining is. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. Again, on this topic of overtraining, overtraining itself is actually a really, really rare thing, and it's not something that people need to really be concerned about unless you're a very, very high level athlete. So again, for the context there, yes, overtraining is real, but it is very difficult to achieve. Okay, and it's very difficult to achieve, but no, it is a real thing. It is an absolutely real medical condition. It is diagnosable. It has symptoms, like a sports physician can diagnose it. And so when people have overtraining syndrome, which is what we're talking about with overtraining, usually like things like your resting heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, you start getting intense muscle cramps while you're trying to sleep at night, right? So these are symptoms. These are symptoms of the medical condition. Some things that you will also notice, of course, with overtraining is your strength will go down, and it won't be minor. Okay, so when we talk about overtraining in terms of strength regression, it's significant reductions. In other words, let's say your 1 rep max on the bench is say 315, right? It's 315. And you start ramping up to 315 and you get to 275 and you unrack it and it feels like 400 pounds. And when you go to lower it, it hits your chest and it just sticks, right? So in other words, lifts that are normally 85 to 90% of your max, you will not be able to do for even 1 rep. You will not physically be able to do them. You will just get stapled. Same thing, if you're overtrained and like your deadlift is 500, you might put 405, you might even put, say 425 on the bar, and you might not be able to break it off the floor if you're overtraining. Like it's just gonna stick. Same thing with your rep work. If you normally bench, 225 for a set of 10, you might go to unrack 225, and it feels super heavy, and you go to do a third rep, and you can't lock it without a spotter. When normally you do 3 sets of 10 with it. Okay, those are the signs that you are overtrained, and that'll be accompanied with anxiety, depression, your heart rate will be up, right? You'll see all these things. This is what overtraining looks like. Well, same thing if you reach the situation where you start getting broken down protein in your urine, right? You'll start peeing orange or red. Okay, this is a sign. Of course, you need to get to a hospital at that point. Okay, you need to get to a hospital at that point. So again, this is when you've exercised to the point to where you were breaking down proteins and they're getting into your bloodstream. Okay, because you've trained excessively, and that can happen from a single bout, but that's not overtraining syndrome. That's again a completely separate medical issue, which I've talked about before. So these are concerns. So when we talk about these things, these are not happening from people doing 15 sets a week. It just doesn't happen. Now, you could have some nervous system fatigue because you're not addressing fatigue management and other stuff, okay? And we need to understand junk volume and overtraining are two different things. Junk volume is simply volume that you are not adapting to, right? Right, it's junk volume. It's volume that you're not getting an adaptation to. But we could debate if that's even a real thing. Like I've known experts who say, we don't really know for a fact that's real. Meaning, even excessive amounts of training volume are still burning calories, right? They're still, accumulating metabolic fatigue. They're still doing these things. So at the end of the day, they just may be producing very, very, very little, but they're still doing something. And there may be no open-ended, threshold to which volume stops causing muscle growth, potentially barring food, sleep, things like that. Again, subject to great debate. A lot of conflicting studies, but we don't actually have evidence of this. And, the fact of the matter that so many serious bodybuilders in different eras have done excessive amounts of volume, right, and still got crazy jacked would suggest not so much truth to that. Overuse injuries, on the other hand, are real. Okay, overuse is caused by excessively loading tendons in the same movement pattern, particularly too much weight. Okay, taking things into uncomfortable ranges of motion, excessively awkward positions. So examples: doing too many curls and then from the same angles, and then maybe cheating on a preacher curl to where the tendons are inflamed, and then you put something at a bad angle. Okay. So it's usually what ends up happening with a lot of overuse. It is something being put at a bad angle where you cheated and too much tension is placed on a tendon in a position of awkwardness, okay, with too much weight after, let me be clear, after you've created excessive inflammation. So let's say bicep ruptures in that case. You've done way too many curls. The tendons are inflamed. You've done maybe too heavy a weight, too many cheat curls, and then you do a cheat curl the wrong way, or you do a preacher curl with a weight that where you cheat on it instead of being strict, and then something gives. Okay, overuse injuries are very real. All right, same thing with bench pressing. All right, same thing with bench pressing. Again, too much weight not properly controlled, excessive ranges of motion sometimes, right? We'll see them on dips are particularly bad too, right? So if you're experiencing a lot of overuse and then you fail a weighted dip, okay? This is where pecs tear off the bone. It's where pecs tear off the bone. Now, benching is a different story when people tear pecs on benching. Again, it's usually due to compromised integrity of the ranges of motion you've been training with, okay? Then combined with certain problems in your loading. But I almost always see pec tears on the bench from guys who just do excessive amounts of benching, and then excessive maybe amounts of touch and go and stuff, barring certain year use. Again, the difference is obviously you'll see people who they're at the world level on a bench and they'll tear a pec due to their heavy drug use and the sheer amount of weight they're using. You know, they tear their pec with a 600-pound bench. Okay, all right, fair enough. But there's usually warning signs for a lot of that going in. And again, it still comes down to excessive overuse of the exact same movement. Okay, so rotating movement patterns, adding variety is one of the keys. That is one of the biggest keys. Making sure you're doing enough higher rep work too with stuff to keep blood flow to things, right? Keeping tendons healthy, keeping blood flow, controlling inflammation, right? These are keys to overuse, right? But overuse tends to be at the level of the tendon. It's not through the whole body. So we need to understand that distinction, and it's usually a mistake made when in a serious overuse situation already of a tendon, and we make a mistake somewhere and it costs us. Whereas an overtraining is a systemic response, and it is always bad, by the way. So people will try to spin it as overtraining. Oh, we're calling this, no, that's not overtraining. If it's overtraining, you'll lose muscle, okay? You will lose muscle and lose strength when you're overtrained, and you may even have to be hospitalized. That is overtraining, and it is a medical condition that has been known about for decades and decades that sports physicians can diagnose in athletes. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.